Welcome to Success Stories with SSA, where we celebrate the remarkable journeys of individuals who have fought their own battles to achieve success. Here, we delve into the inspiring stories of perseverance, determination, and triumph, showing you that with the right mindset, every challenge can be overcome. Today, we are thrilled to have Delano with us on this series. Delano, we are so happy to have you here. Could you please introduce yourself to the audience and share a bit about your journey?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So, myself, Delano Lourenco. I'm a recent graduate from VIT Chennai, and I've done my BTech in computer science with a specialization in artificial intelligence and machine learning. And right now, I'm going to start working as a full time in Wells Fargo as a program associate. That's it from my side.
Thanks a lot, Delano. So, my first question for you would be why did you choose your particular course of study?
Yeah, so initially, like from small only, I was into technical stuff. So, from 10 years old, my parents had put me for these courses like coding for kids, like Python and this small courses which are there. They don't teach you actually much. It's just to, uh, just for your knowledge, like just to know what is there. So from that time, I was eager and curious about these technologies, what is like computers, phones, and like how you can make them do what you want them to do, programming. So I had started off, I think, with something called Turtle Script, which is a very old one. So I was into that first for some time. Then after once HTML and CSS came, I went into that. So from that time, my curiosity was there. So then the next step was like after my 10th and all, I decided to go for BTech in computer science. And in VIT, there was a specialization in AIML, which is like recently it has been like a complete boom. So I took a specialization in that field.
Thank you, Delano. We would like to know some of your most impactful projects and the tech stacks you used.
Yeah, so like in BIT, I mean, they taught about Python and C++, but that was not actually what I was into. So what I have done is I have done mainly MERN stack, React, and Next.js. So these include like different services. Superbase is there for some free services, Firebase. Then we have MongoDB, and we have Next.js React, which is for your front end, back end, and we also have Node, which you're looking for the back end. So these were the tech stacks. And coming to the projects, like I've done a simple few websites, and I've also used WebSockets with real-time connection. So we had recently in VIT in the ESL team, ESL club, we had an IPL battle event. So for that, we had to design a website. So we had used Superbase WebSockets for that, and I included that in my resume as well. And then I also worked on Web3. So I had integrated some NFTs and Solidity code. So I worked a little bit on that, not much into it, just for a hackathon it was, so it was not much. So mainly it was on MERN and Next.js.
Okay, thank you, Delano. So my question is like, what is your opinion on the CGPA? Like, how important is it for the placement or for your career path?
That would be actually really important. Like it depends also. I mean, it depends college wise and company wise. So for me, it was really important because Wells Fargo, which had come in the slot one, which is basically the first few companies that come for placement. So they had shortlisted only above 9 points. So if you're below nine, and even if you're like a really good coder or someone, then you would not be there because just the sheer volume of students that are there who are sitting for placements, you need to have something really to stand out, and one way in that is CGPA. But if you try in some off campus, then you might have a luck if you having the skills and projects for that. But I would say in campus, if you're planning to go, then try to have at least a 9 point CGPA or at least a 8.5, then you at least get like the top companies.
My next question would be could you please walk us through your interview experience in Wells Fargo?
Yeah, so like the interview was, we had I think 3 to 4 rounds. So initially, when the company came to Wells Fargo, we got a mail from VIT saying that Wells Fargo is come. So these are the roles that they are there. So they hired for two roles. One is the data analytics role, and one of the software developer role. So we had got like what are the requirements in the role, what are your responsibilities and things like that. And based on that, we had to apply for that. So again, this was only for 9+ pointers. So they had to apply. So we had a total of 500. We had to answer an online test first. So this test had three sections. One was the English section, which had like normal English grammar rules, some comprehension, small questions. which was an easy level. And then we had business analytics. So in this, we had some graphs and charts. So we had to analyze the graphs and charts and like try to answer some questions like what was some percentage or what was the range of these things, like different questions on business analytics. And the last section was in the code. So in this, we had two questions. The first one was, I would say, a medium level to easy, like it depends, random base. So some got easy, some got medium. And second question was a hard question. So I think this was the actual deal breaker. So whoever had solved this question, whoever missed to solve this, they would not get selected. And if you had solved this, then you would get selected. So I was able to solve both. It was some based on strings, and one was some Tower of Koenigsegg. So it is a like really niche question. But if you had like read it before, then you can solve it easily. Or else you'll have to like take time to get the logic for it and then like solve it. So after this OA round, we had I think around 80 people who got shortlisted. So from 500 we went to 80, and then we had our technical round. So technical round was in online mode, and in that it was questions like SQL, OOPS, DBMS, and things about your resume, like what are the projects you've done, and like why you use the tech stack, and explain like just a diagram of it. So in my resume, I had also put one of my freelance apps that I had done. So that was done like a couple of months before this interview. So that I think caught the interviewer's eye. So he asked me about that, like what is the the diagram of the system design, like what was the app that I had made and like how it worked, and like why they wanted to do it and things like that on the resume. I would say it was easy level. The SQL question was a little bit on the technical side, like it was related to self join. So you have to know like the joins, how it works, left join, right join, and you have to write the code as well for that. So that was for around an hour to 1.5 hours. And after that, the same day we had our HR round. So that was around for 20 to 30 minutes. And it was just basic questions like about yourself, like about your family, what are your favorite subjects. So it was really chill. And yeah, so that was the last round. And I think our total time for the full placement process was around 1 week from the initial coding, I mean the OA round, to the final like congratulations mail. And yeah, that was the process.
Thank you, Delano, for sharing your experience. We would like to know what were some of the most difficult questions that you faced and how did you tackle them?
I think for me, the two difficult question was in the technical round. One was the SQL one, as I mentioned, the self join. I was not able to solve it on the first try because I was not actually that much deep into SQL. It means I knew like the basics of it, and I was able to use ORM, so which is basically a wrapper on SQL. So you don't have to work with the native SQL layer. So I gave my approach to the interviewer and I wrote the code for it, but it was not the optimal approach. So then the interviewer was like good. So I don't know if it was my luck or what, but he gave me some tips on how I could like guide me to get the optimal solution. And then at the end, I was able to get that. And in the second question, it was related to OOPS. So it was a ATM question. So he gave me a scenario like there's an ATM and you have to design these functions for it. And this is the end user, like how the user will go and get the money and all that. So you just would design like a OOPS system, like the ATM class, and then what are the functions in the class, and the member variables, and like the user class, and just like that system design with code. Not exactly system design, but I would say like kind of OOPS. So you have to explain everything. And that was a technical round. Some of my peers told me like they get questions in computer networks and OS, but for me, I hadn't got that. So that might be a little challenging. If you've got like operating systems, you'll have to talk about like the registers, caches, memory management, and process scheduling. So I was ready for that, but I didn't get that. So I had only got these two ones.
Okay, so Delano, my question to you is like exactly when did you start your placement journey?
Yeah, so like our initial placement from VIT started in July of 2023. So before that, we had like around 2-3 months of time before our placement started at the end of the semester. So from April, I would say I actually started seriously for placements. Before that, I was into web dev and coding and all, not into DSA that much. So from April, I started. So I had like 3 months, which I did like lead code, Striver, DSA cheat sheet. So these are the two main things which I use. And like normal YouTube videos, like difficult concepts, like especially dynamic programming was difficult for me. So that took me like a long time to get down properly. And as well as graph questions. So you have like 1D graph, 2D graph, 3D graph. So that took me like at least I think 3-4 times going through the videos and like trying out lead code like multiple times the same question. And I think one more thing is like you have to be able to explain also like what you've done. So instead of just solving, like when I was to solve, I should like think of how can I explain this better to a person. So like what is your thought process? So I would say 3 months I think is quite good. Like I was able to solve around 200 lead code questions. And yeah, that was like a few questions of each topic, not like going in depth into each topic. But I specifically like was solving like top questions of Meta, Google, Facebook, all these like top companies. And I think some are repeated as well, so you can like more of focus, like if you have a certain company in mind, you can like focus for that one, look, solve questions of previous questions of that same company. And yeah, that was it.
Thanks a lot, Delano, for sharing that. So, what were some of the impactful resources like books, be it online sites or some YouTube videos which you watched, or some mentors which helped you the most? And since you mentioned about system design, what did you refer for that as well?
Yeah, so my main like reference point was YouTube itself. I did not go for any paid courses or anything because I felt like YouTube contains all the resources. Only thing you have to be able to search for what you want. So like there will be multiple people who are making videos on that, but I found like Striver was one of the good videos which were there for DSA, especially because he gave you like the brute force solution and then like slightly optimize it to a medium solution and then finally going to the optimal solution, as well as explaining the time complexity and space complexity. So these also are sometimes asked by interviewers, but for my round, since it was like a initial graduate round, they didn't ask that. But maybe for like senior level roles and all, they may ask you the time complexity and space complexity. Uh, but for DSA, it was Triver. Then for system design, again on YouTube, there's like different people. I don't remember the exact channels, but it was mainly from YouTube only, and lead code for DSA coding practice.
Thank you for that. We would like to know which hackathons, codeathons, or contests did you participate in, and how did participating in such codeathons help you contribute to your placement success?
Yeah, so in VIT, I had taken part in two hackathons. One was like from Hack Club, so it was like a 24-hour hackathon. We had to stay in our VIT hall, and we were not selected in that, but it really like gave me an idea of how you can work fast to build like a prototype really quickly in like under 24 hours and like get like the full system working from end to end. So that was one of the hackathons. Another hackathon was the Web3 hackathon in Binance, which we actually came first. So that also helped me like understand what is Web3 and like how does the smart contracts work, NFTs and all. But I'm not like that much into that, but I just got a knowledge on that, and I was able to put that on my resume, so it was a good point.
So Delano, since you have participated in two hackathons, so what will be your suggestion to someone who wants to gain experience and excel into these kind of hackathons or codeathons?
I think the main thing would be you can try to get into some of your clubs which have like similar mindset. So if there's like a coding club in your university, or if there is like some web development club or some app development club, you can try to get into that so you can meet people who have similar goals. So you can meet up with them, connect with them, and then take part in hackathons. Or else you'll have to like find someone from the online or a different university if you don't have that in your university, and or you'll have to take part solo. But I would not recommend that if you're just starting off, because you need some experience like with teammates, and like how do you segregate the work, and how do you use GitHub to git and merge changes. So I would say get into some clubs where you can meet people.
Sure, that's a nice suggestion, Delano. So, could you give a junior some tips and tricks on building a good resume and also on maintaining a good LinkedIn profile?
Yeah. So for resume, I would say you would need to, have a couple of internships maybe, or if you don't have internships, have some projects which you can show, and not like the common projects. You have to have like a project which is unique in some point. Like maybe you're using some real time connection, or maybe you have deployed it on some, AWS cloud or something different slightly from the rest. Because if you just do some like library management app or something like that, it's going to be a very cliche one. They'll just say you've copied it from the net or something. So whatever you put on a resume, you should be able to also explain, from end to end, like any, even like a smallest finest detail. Like I've heard like some people, they ask even like what is the version of React you used in that. So maybe they may ask you such questions as well. As for the like format of the resume, I would say stick to latex format, which is a standard format. There are many online sites which you can get a latex format, because it is ATS compliant, which is really really important. So because these companies and all, they don't manually go to your resume at the starting, so they use a ATS system which scans your resume for keywords. So for that, you have to also put some keywords, and make sure to put like the long form of the keyword. Suppose if you're doing like some machine learning, don't put ML, put machine learning as well as ML, because sometimes these systems, they don't search like for the short forms and things like that. So you have to be very cautious with that. And I would say if you've done some certifications, or some online courses, you can include that as well. And yeah, these projects and your courses or certifications, you can include that.
My second question, the LinkedIn profile.
LinkedIn, I'm not that familiar with, but I would say like whatever achievements you have done, you can just keep posting them on LinkedIn. Like if you have like published your portfolio website, you can make a post on that. Or if you have done some contribution in some open source GitHub repository, you can maybe put a post on that. Like what are your experiences and what you learned from that, rather than just putting like I finished this course. You can like put like what you have learned from it and how it has helped you grow. And you can like send connections to people in the company where you want to work. Like if you know you have a goal for getting into Google, or getting into Walmart or Amazon or Wells Fargo, any of these companies, you can maybe like start to build a network, so you can get some referrals as well. And try to have a proper profile, like GitHub profile, LinkedIn profile, a proper email, like a work email. So not like the skiddy emails which you just made like when you were 10-year-old and using that. So it just gives you like a more professional feel and a professional attitude to your work.
Thank you, Delano. We would like to know what clubs and societies were you part of, and how have extracurricular activities played a role in your personal as well as professional development?
Yeah. So in VIT, I was part of two clubs. One was the ESL club, which is the entrepreneurship club. In that club, I was there as the technical head, or like the web dev head. So we were handling their website and like any of the events that were there. Like IPL battle was one of the events, so we had to design like the system for that. So we designed an app, and for that real time app, which I was able to put on my resume as well. So this ESL helped me more on the web dev side. Like we had to, I think we made that app, I think in 2 days. So it was really good. Like overnight, we had to work on it and get it done somehow. And we were able to get it done. And in the second club, I was in the game dev club. That was as a technical head. So handling like meetings for our game dev members, Unity, Unreal, Godot, giving them ideas for how to make the game. It was more of a managerial role than actual technical role. So these clubs, I think it has helped me in my non-technical skills, management and assigning tasks, and like making sure you meet their deadlines. So I would say it was not that much helpful, but yeah, it gave me some idea about how to work with people.
Okay, so Delano, like right now you will be transitioning into a full-time role into Wells Fargo. Before that, you had an internship phase. So we'd really like to know like what were your roles and responsibilities during the internship, and what was the tech stack that you worked on.
Yeah, so the internship was for 4.5 months in the Wells Fargo Bangalore office. So initially, I would say for the first 1.5 month, we were having trainings. So trainings we were both having for technical and non-technical. So in the technical field, we had like Java, Spring Boot, Mongo, Kafka, then SQL, React, Mern, and Python. So it was like a general training. In non-technical, we had like the normal HR trainings, risk management, then ethics and communication. Because like in Wells Fargo specifically, since it is a bank, an American bank, it has like a lot of regulations, and we cannot, like we have a lot of strict regulations. Like we don't have an actual machine; you have to work in the cloud. So yeah, like a lot of regulations and understanding all that. Not to download things from the internet, not to send random emails or click on any links in emails. And in the technical side, it was more focused on Spring Boot and Java. Like even in the work what we had, it was like small tasks. I was part of like a team known as PTCT, which is the payments and treasuries team. So we had all our applications in Spring Boot, a really old version that too, which we are slowly upgrading. So I would say it is a older tech stack because the systems were designed like a really long time back. And in India, it is not like that. In India, like a UPI system and all, it is really way more advanced, in tech stack and even in the technologies used. But since the American tech stack is slightly behind, we had to use Java and Spring Boot.
Yes. So, where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years, and what are some of your long-term goals?
Yeah. So, like in 5 to 10 years, I would say I want to be in the coding side itself, not like going into a managerial role or like a product manager role. I want to be in the coding side because I really like to code. And I would say in 5 to 10 years, I'll probably be a lead developer or maybe a product manager, but more into the coding side or like system design or high level system design. Um yeah, and long term goals would be working and like even trying to build up a corpus so I can retire also, not retire completely, but at least not have to worry about money in the long run. Having some passive income, maybe running some SaaS, or trying to not only focus on corporate life.
Thank you for that. We would like to know from you if you have any suggestions that you would like to give the engineering students on how to plan their 4 years of study in their engineering colleges.
I would say focus on studies, like try to have a decent CGPA, because in your placements that will be really important. And with that, you can also try to get internships as early as possible, because more internships that you get, your summer internships, your winter internships, you can have it on a resume, and it'll also give you some experience which you can leverage. So the skills that you learn in in that internship, you can improve it and put it into somewhere else. And you can also work on some projects. If you're not doing any internship, you can work on your side projects, work on like your portfolio, any open source contributions, like Google GSOC is there. So there are different fields. You can get into a club in your university, work with some students in there. And also side by side do your DSA and your interview preparation as early as possible, so you can do those many revisions in turn for your interview.
Thank you, Delano, for sharing your inspiring journey with us. And it was a pleasure having you on Success Stories with SSA. And we feel that your experiences and insights are sure to resonate with our audience and inspire many others on their paths to success. Thank you so much.